25 September, just after dawn. The mouth of a gray river on Rome's northern edge. Mist lies low over reeds and mudflats. The tide is turning. In the half-light, a lookout's breath smokes into his wool scarf as he leans over a timber platform slick with dew. He hears it before he sees it, wood creaking under strain, a rhythm of oars biting water, quiet as teeth. He squints. Shapes slide out of the fog. Not merchant hulls. Too narrow, too quick. The prows lift like the noses of hunting dogs. The lookout hesitates, one heartbeat too long, then makes his decision. He yanks the rope to the alarm bell and the iron tongue slams hard enough to hurt the ears. The sound rolls over the marsh like thunder. Below, men who have been half asleep inside a riverside post jolt upright, fumbling for belts and helmets. A centurion, scarred cheek, shorn hair, kicks. The door of the barracks open and shouts, orders in harsh Latin, "To the palisade! Standards up!" Immediate consequence. Panic becomes motion. Sandaled feet slap wet planks. Shield rims scrape as they're hauled from pegs. An auxiliary with a cracked thumbnail tries to fasten his chin strap and drops it once, twice, his fingers suddenly clumsy. Someone laughs, too loud, too high, and stops when the centurion's glare finds him. Out on the water, the raiders do not row harder. They do not need to. They are already inside the river mouth, already using Rome's own geography as a blade. The centurion chooses speed over caution. He orders the gate, unbarred and a detachment forward, 20 men with oval shields and spears to deny the landing. The wooden gate swings wide, letting in the smell of brine and rot. The soldiers spill out onto the muddy bank. Immediate consequence, their boots sink. Mud sucks at leather. The neat line breaks into a stagger as men fight the ground instead of the enemy. And then the first longship kisses the shore with a soft, terrible gentleness. A raider leaps down, bare legs streaked with cold river water, axe already in hand. Behind him comes another, and another, shields raised in a tight wall of painted wood. They don't charge in a frenzy. They advance like men who have done this before, who know the weight of a Roman spear thrust and have decided it can be endured. The centurion snaps his arm down. Advance. The Romans thrust. Spears bite into shields, glance off iron bosses. One spear finds flesh. A raider grunts, staggers, and is pulled back without drama. But the raiders answer with thrown javelins and heavy stones from slings, improvised missiles that don't care about training. A stone catches a Roman in the mouth. Teeth scatter into mud. He tries to scream and only bubbles red. Immediate consequence, the detachment recoils. Not from fear, yet, but from shock. The enemy is already too close. Inside the post, an older soldier, frontier-born, eyes tired, makes his own decision. He drags a torch from the fire pit and runs it along a pitch-soaked bundle by the storehouse door. The plan is simple. If they can't hold the grain, they will deny it. He touches flame to pitch. Fire takes fast in the damp morning, licking up the beams with hungry orange tongues. Smoke rolls outward, thick and stinging. Immediate consequence. Now the fort is shouting in two directions, toward the river and toward the blaze. Men look back over their shoulders. Discipline thins. A standard bearer steadies the pole with both hands, knuckles white, as if the eagle's weight has doubled. The raiders see the smoke and adjust. They do not stop to loot the first buildings. Their leader, unnamed, face hidden by a helmet rim, raises his axe and points upriver. That decision changes everything, because the ships are not here merely to raid the coast. They're here to go through it. As the Romans scramble to form a new line, more hulls slide out of the fog, far, more than the lookout's first glimpse suggested. And with them comes the new complication, cold as the river itself. The longships are splitting, some landing to fight, others slipping past the burning post, oars feathering silently as they head inland, toward towns that have never heard an alarm bell. By mid-morning, not a documented hour, just the kind of gray late morning that follows a cold dawn on the frontier, the riverside. Post is choking on its own smoke. The centurion makes a brutal choice. He abandons the muddy bank. He pulls his men back behind the palisade and orders the gate slammed shut. Not because it feels brave, but because it feels possible. The detachment stumbles in, shields slick with river water, faces streaked with soot and spit. Someone is missing. No one says his name. The gate bar drops into place with a heavy final sound. Immediate consequence. The raiders left on the shore don't waste themselves on the wall. They pivot as if they were waiting for Rome to retreat and surge toward the storehouses and workshops that sit outside the fort's tight perimeter. They hack at doors, pry up planks, and drag out anything that can be carried. Iron tools, salted meat, bundles of cloth. A man in a patched tunic, civilian, not soldier, tries to stop them. arms spread like a barricade. An axe head catches him high in the shoulder. He folds to the ground, shocked more than screaming, and the mud takes him. Inside the fort, the older soldier who lit the pitch watches his fire spread too well. The storehouse roof begins to sag, and sparks lift on the wind like fleeing insects. The centurion snaps another decision into being. Save the standards. He orders the eagle and the unit's insignia. Move to the inner building. Anything but the shame of losing them to a raider's hands. The standard bearer, young, wide-eyed, hugs the pole like a drowning man clings to driftwood. Immediate consequence. Men stop thinking about the enemy and start thinking about symbols. About reputation, about the kind of punishment that follows humiliation. A frontier soldier with a split lip whispers a prayer he barely remembers. Another spits into the dirt and forces his hands to stop shaking. For a moment, they are less an army than a room full of people pretending not to be afraid. Outside, the raiders' longships that slipped past are already upriver. Oars dipping, lifting, dipping, quiet power. The fort can hear them only in flashes. A creak, a splash, a distant shout. Rome's wall logic. Hold the line, guard the road, deny the crossing. Doesn't fit this. Rivers don't respect walls. A messenger is chosen, an unglamorous, desperate action. The centurion grabs an auxiliary rider and shoves a wax tablet into his hands. To the next fort. To the town, now. The rider nods once, face pale under grime, and bolts through a side gate with two others, hooves striking wet earth. Immediate consequence. The moment they break cover, a flight of missiles whistles out of the smoke, javelins and arrows. Thrown on instinct more than aim, one rider jerks sideways, makes a strangled sound, and topples. His horse keeps going for 3 steps before it realizes it's alone and screams. High and awful. The other 2 riders vanish into reeds, swallowing terror like bile. The centurion doesn't have the luxury of mourning. He chooses a second, harsher measure, a sortie. A night's worth of pride condenses into a single order. Open the gate, hit them, throw them back from the burning. Buildings before everything outside. Becomes a feast. The gate groans open. Romans surge out with spears and oval shields, trying to form a clean line on filthy ground. They manage 3 steps of discipline before the mud breaks them again. The raiders answer with a compact shield wall, axes ready behind it. Immediate consequence, impact. Wood slams wood. Iron rings. A Roman spear slides between shields and catches air. An axe hooks the spear shaft and yanks it down, ripping it from the soldier's grip. Another Roman takes a blade across the forearm. Mail stops the worst. But blood still seeps, hot against cold skin. The sortie stalls. Not a rout, yet but a lesson. The enemy is not impressed by the idea of Rome. Then the complication arrives like a hand tightening around the throat. From upriver, carried on the wind and the water, comes a sound the fort cannot ignore. A bell, not a Roman alarm bell, but a smaller one, panicked, irregular. A town bell, or a church bell. Someone inland has seen the longships, and they are ringing for help that will not come in time. You can almost feel the distance like a wound. Every heartbeat another stroke of the oars. Because now the raiders aren't just outside the walls. They're behind them. The bell upriver keeps ringing, thin, frantic, as if sound alone could build a wall. Inside the riverside post, the centurion makes the only decision left that still feels like command. He gives up the shoreline entirely and turns his men inward, toward survival and pursuit. Half the garrison stays to hold the gate and keep the fire from eating the last usable stores. The other half he forms into a rough column, spears forward, shields tight, and pushes them out through the rear track that runs along the riverbank. Immediate consequence, it works at first. The raiders outside, busy with plunder and flame, don't immediately follow. For a few hundred paces, the Romans move through, reeds and older trees with the river on. Their left, water glinting like a blade. Whenever the clouds break, a soldier in the second rank keeps touching the strap of his helmet, over and over, as if checking whether his head is still attached. Another wipes soot off his cheek and only smears it deeper. Then they smell it, not the pitch smoke from their own storehouse, but something sweeter and worse, burning thatch, burning grain, livestock hair singeing. The town upriver is already being opened like a sack. The centurion signals, faster. No speeches, no heroics, just the hard, ugly discipline of men who know what happens to an undefended settlement. You can almost feel the decision in their calves and lungs. They are running toward screams. And yes, this is the moment you watching would want to look away. But the road, like the river, doesn't allow it. Immediate consequence. The column arrives too late to prevent the first horror, but soon enough to collide with the second. On the river bend, longships are drawn up half on mud, half afloat. Raiders are hauling out prisoners, women, youths, an old man stumbling with his hands bound. A child's cry cuts through the smoke, sharp as a trumpet. The centurion chooses violence. He orders a charge. The Romans slam into the raiders' flank. Shields punching, spears stabbing at the gaps. A raider falls into the shallows and the river takes him, dragging his cloak downstream like a black flag. An auxiliary throws his javelin at close range. It hits a shield and skitters off, but the impact staggers the line long enough for a Roman blade to find a rib. Immediate consequence. For a breath, the power shifts. Raiders who were confident become men glancing over shoulders toward their boats. A few prisoners break loose and run, barefoot through ash, until a Roman grabs one by the elbow and shoves them behind the shields. But then the raiders do what seaborne raiders do best. They don't commit. Their leader, still unnamed, face unreadable, barks a signal. Oars are thrown back into the water. Men disengage, not panicked but practiced. They retreat into the longships, with the speed of people who have rehearsed. Retreat as carefully as attack. A Roman tries to leap onto a gunwale. An axe haft cracks against his wrist, and he falls back into mud, howling. Immediate consequence. The Romans win the bank, and lose the river. The longships slide away, taking captives, taking loot, taking the day's meaning with them. The centurion stands on the shore with wet boots and a bloodied spear point, staring at the widening gap of water as if it's a new kind of enemy formation. Because it is. This is not a frontier raid you can pin down with a march and a battle. This is war that moves with tide and current. War that appears, strikes and dissolves into the landscape. And the final complication, the moral shock that lands like a stone in the stomach, arrives. With the survivors from the town, a breathless knot of civilians and battered militia. One man, hair singed, clutches a ring of keys so tightly his knuckles split. He gasps out the detail that changes what the centurion thinks he's chasing. The raiders didn't just hit one place. They split again. Another group is already heading toward a second settlement. Further inland, using a different branch of the river, the centurion looks back downstream, where his fort still smolders, and then upriver, where the longships shrink into fog. Rome has walls. Rome has legions. Rome has standards. But on a river, against men who came by sea, Rome has only one thing that matters now: how fast it can learn,